me. Everybody, can I have your attention for 1 second, please? We have a very special guest with us here today. He is one of my favorites of all time. He's so awesome. Please, let's see if we can get him up here. Come on. Share your gift.
I've got Corby Ziegler in the studio. And I'll just name some of the things you did. You did Equilibrium,
yep.
The Elite,
the Elite,
right?
Yep.
And you did the Strong 27, the Executive Mentorship.
Correct, as a protege.
As a protege, and you are a mentor though too, right? An executive.
Correct.
Okay, awesome.
Correct.
And well, then you know a lot about accountability, obviously, for both of those roles. And then Anchoredman, which we are doing tonight. Correct. We're actually doing Anchoredman tonight, our last one. So tell me, let's just start small with Anchoredman. And you don't have to talk even about yourself. Maybe something about the group you're facilitating or some of the stories you've seen. Like, how have you seen accountability as far as Anchoredman goes? Have you seen stories of accountability?
So this is my second time going through Anchorman. What I did not expect to happen this time was myself get challenged through these 5 weeks. I had gotten convicted through my group to put Covenant Eyes on my phone. As a person who is helping men through some of these programs, I felt it was really important for me to set an example. And through this process, there's been a huge weight lifted off my shoulder because of putting that on.
And what is
devices.
that, Covenant Eyes, for those people that don't know what that is?
So Covenant Eyes is just an accountability
for the computer.
For the computer or the phone.
Okay.
And you invite an accountability partner, and
okay.
he kind of watches out for you. It doesn't stop you from looking at things you shouldn't be, but if I would, it will send that to him, and now I have accountability to work through that that process.
So if you're going to a place where you're like, I don't want to be at these sites, and if I am, I want this person to know and to. I want that accountability.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So while doing this Anchorman, I thought like I'm doing this to help other guys through it, and I myself got challenged and helped.
Yeah.
This Anchorman has been extremely special because of the fact of knowing there's some guys that have come into this that have maybe never heard of God before. And so this is a really special one, seeing them and knowing that they're hearing a little bit of God's truth.
And that accountability could be just like, I'm going to follow up with this guy.
Correct.
Right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Talk about an example of accountability through the Equilibrium retreat.
So the Equilibrium retreat was a really, really special weekend. The bond that you form through the 5 or 6 or however many guys go on it, I was not expecting. It's a busy weekend, but it's also a weekend of a lot of reflection time. But it causes you to have to really kind of dig in deep and know what God is, what His purpose for you. So when it comes to the accountability of that, there was accountability while we were on the retreat, but then there's a 5 or 6 months after the retreat that you're growing with these guys, and you're growing and they're growing with you. The weekend away was just a really special time, and for you to just really search out God's heart and His desire for your life. That it was really neat.
That accountability is awesome.
Yeah.
Now to the summit, which is Strong 27, which is the mentorship. You've been a protege.
Right.
You've been an executive protege.
Executive protege.
And then moved to an executive mentor.
Right.
As you look at that overall, tell me something about a story about accountability going through all of that.
Right. So 13 years ago, I came back to Christ. I'd walked away and I came back to Christ. For the last 11 years, I was walking a good walk, but wasn't progressing any further in that. Got asked to do the executive protege, or the Strong 27, and got connected with an awesome mentor. And a year ago, while walking through that, I really had no idea spiritually where that was going to take me, but I was excited for it. And, after meeting with my mentor, he started really challenging me on, leading my family well. And I was like, well, I am, I'm working hard, I'm providing. I was taking them to church on Sunday, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. But come to find out, spiritually, I was not leading my home well. And so through that 1 year process, I formed a rhythm of doing my devotions. I would do devotions here or there, but if I did it once a month, thumbs up, I was doing great. Not really. I figured out mornings were my best time to do my devotions, and now it's been, 2 years. After you start doing them through repetition, it just becomes natural. And now that time in the morning that I give with God, is an extremely important time. And if I do miss it, I feel like I'm cheating on Him. So that has really helped. My mentor really helped hold me accountable to. I found what works best for me, and then we stuck to it. And he held me accountable with that. Another really big thing was not just being a father to my children, but spiritually leading my children and helping to set them up. And so we had set a goal of doing devotions 2 to 3 times a week with my kids, and that was really difficult because I mean, it doesn't sound like it should be difficult, but it was difficult because I never was shown what that looked like. But after doing that with my kids, they would, I would say, hey kids, let's go to bed. They'd quick go grab the devotion books, and it's almost has become over the last 2 years a almost nightly thing. I set a goal for 2 to 3 nights a week, and it's almost, I would say, 5 to 6 days a week, which is absolutely incredible. Now my kids are holding me accountable, which
now you don't have a choice.
Now I don't have a choice, but it that is awesome.
Wow, accountability from your kids.
Right. And then, the next thing that was a lot more difficult was learning how to pray with my wife. Now, we would pray at dinner time or something like that with the whole family around, not a big deal, but to set time away and to know how to, ask my wife, what she might be going through, or, what can we pray about, or, pray for a friend, that was the next thing on, finding a pattern on, do we, once or twice a week, because up until that, we didn't do that at all.
Okay.
So again, the Strong 27, we found what worked, and then, my mentor helped hold me accountable to doing them every month. And, after doing that for a year, and now it just feels natural. So spiritually, Strong 27 was just huge for helping me set the foundational base for my family.
Okay.
Really, really important. Halfway through it, we started diving into, balancing out faith, family, finances, fitness. But getting that faith set was the key for me to take my next step. And it was a huge step in a relationship with Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Okay, man, I really appreciate it. And just to know some of the things that we have coming up is you are running a Strong 27 at Mannheim Brethren in Christ, right? Correct. And when does that launch?
So we're launching the next group beginning of March in 2024.
Okay, and that's a 12-month. It runs 12 months, and you meet with your mentor twice a month.
Right.
Okay.
And then through that period of that year, we have 4 quarterly huddles where we get together, learn how to move on to the next F, and we have food, and it's just a really good time to share what might be going well, what you're struggling with. And then we can hear from other groups, and we get a lot of good insight on how everyone's doing.
Awesome. Yeah. So, and you've been a huge help with this Anchoredman. I mean, you brought a ton of men in here. And why did we not do this at a church?
So let's back up real quick on just how amazing God is and how He just blew our minds with showing up for this. So, I got challenged to go up in front of the church at Mannheim Bick, which was something that I never thought I could do. But through some prayer and being obedient, I felt it was what God wanted me to do. While doing it, it kind of was like a supernatural thing where he kind of just took over and just spoke the words for me, and it went awesome. We had a real good response out of it. We had, internally, I just felt like God was telling me 50 guys from our church need to come to this. And we thought it was a really big goal, but we also have a big God. And so we went for it. So a few weeks out from Anchorman, we're at 30, 40, and then I'm getting an email, we're at 50. A week before, my word, we're at 60. 3 days away, on my word, we're at 75, 80. And then like a day or two before Anchorman launches, we're at 100.
Yeah.
99, 100, 101, something right in there. And it's just like, mouth dropping, right? Like, whoa, we just put a challenge to God for 50. Dude, he just doubled it.
Yeah.
So, man, like, wow, like, I don't know how else to describe it, but wow. So like when we're, it might be something so simple and being obedient, like, hey, go up in front of the church. Well, to me, like that's in front of 700 people. Like that's a really big deal. But being obedient, like God clearly opened a door. Like I need to walk through it. Now we kind of have a little bit of a challenge. Like, okay, God, like this is a big number, but help us out. And he doubles it.
Yeah.
And it has been an incredible experience when you hear some of the testimonies that guys that are, doing devotions with their wives. I know you shared with me, like, dude, this is what it's about.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
This is what it's about.
It's awesome to be able to witness it. How do you go from a guy that would never see themselves up in front of a church getting other men together to get them on the mountain, and it's because you decided somewhere to get involved, and through the accountability, you just kept going up and up and up, and now look, you put in a lot of work here, and that shows in everyone who's about to show up in a couple of hours. So, so thank you for that. But that's what happens when we get accountability and we involve others.
And be obedient. Be obedient to Jesus. Like that. That is the number one thing. Is when God is tugging at you, when he is clearly opening up a door and challenging you to take a step of faith, like don't walk away from that. Like don't. Like there's so much blessing that comes through just by being obedient.
Yep. I like to call it like a nudge, right?
Right.
So accountability is one of those things, like you've got to involve other men in your walk, and you've got to be around those kind of men to know who they are. So like if you're feeling that nudge, even when you're listening to this podcast, we got a ton of things you could do. Like I said, menofiron.org, you could go on, you can get free resources on menofiron.org. You can reach out to me at tonyg@menofiron.org. You can look at the free resources. You can look at Strong 27. You can look at the executive mentorships, our standard mentorships, the Anchored Man groups. And we have an Anchored Man group starting Saturday the 21st in the city. You could contact me for more information on that in Lancaster City. And then we also have a man's game plan that's going to be a follow-up from this Anchored Man that's going to be running later in October. So contact me about that. If you're sitting there and you're like, I'm feeling that nudge, I think I need to do something. Awesome. That's why we're talking about this right now. Do something about it. I absolutely guarantee you that God rewards obedience.
That's right.
He blesses you. And if all the reward is, and this is all I think we want, right? Let's just get closer to him.
That's right.
I'm not looking for riches. I'm not looking for anything other than, man, if I obey a nudge, my life changes because I get closer to God.
That's right.
So, yeah, that's what it's all about. So you don't know that I was going to do this part, but you've been... You've helped out so much with Men of Iron just as a volunteer, but you've also helped out Men of Iron financially, and you have your own business. Right. And you're not sponsoring this or anything like this, so I don't want it to sound like that, but like you do so much for us. Like you have your own business. Can you just tell me about what you do for people that might need your services?
Right. So we are based out of Lidditz, so we're a concrete contractor. We do mostly residential, your basements, garages. We do a lot of stamped concrete. We get into a little bit of light commercial, but Lidditz has been our home now for 13 years, and we currently have moved our home to Mannheim, but kept the shop in Lidditz, and Yeah.
Yeah. So, hey, give him a call. You know, we like to support him as well. So, is there a phone number or a website?
Yeah, so phone number would be 717-875-3630. That'll put you through to our office.
Okay, great. Awesome. All right, cool. Corby, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. I hope someone's getting a nudge. And Corby, if they're getting a nudge, what do they need to do?
Call you.
All right. And I'll direct you the right way. I can't do it for you, but I'll point you in the right direction. So, hey, thanks, guys, for tuning in. menofiron.org, Tony G at menofiron.org. Thanks. I'll see you next week.